Welcome back to the War Room, and today we are talking about the Cities of Sigmar faction pack, and we'll be going over that. This is one of my favorite armies, so I might be a little bit biased in this review, but in my opinion this is the Swiss Army knife of Age of Sigmar 4th edition currently. They have a lot of different war scrolls, they have a lot of different tools, and I think they're only going to get better as time goes on. So first, getting into it, we have their battle traits. In Cities of Sigmar, it's a lot of mixed races. So all their battle traits have to do with orders. Each hero can give an order, and then every order will benefit a certain race. In this army, you can take humans, you can take dwarves, and you can take dark elves. So each order will benefit a certain race, and let's kind of break those down. So first we have the movement phase order. This is advance in formation. Pick a friendly Cities of Sigmar hero that does not use an officer's order ability this turn to use this ability. Then you pick someone wholly within 12, and then they can make a move of 3 inches. If you target a human unit, they can pick another 2 units to make this officer's move. So this one obviously benefits humans. If you pick a human, you could pick a total of 3 humans to move 3 inches. And we'll get into it a little bit later, but for note right now, this does not count as a move. Then we have the strike them down. This is a charge phase order. What you do is you pick someone within 12 inches. If they successfully make a charge, they add 1 to their attack's characteristic. So you just +1 attack. Now, if you target an elf unit with this order, you also add 1 to hit rolls. Very effective, very efficient on the charge. To note, if you do this charge phase order, you cannot do the combat phase order, which is hold the line. You pick a Cities of Sigmar unit wholly within 12, like all of these orders are going to be wholly within 12, and then that unit has always strikes last. So you're kind of giving them a debuff, but with that you give them a 5 of ward. And in addition, if you target a dwarf unit, they also have -1 to hit for the combat for the rest of the turn. Very, very good. This is one of my favorites. You give yourself always strikes last, yes, so you become a little less threatening in the initiative order of combats, but a 5 of ward, and if it's a dwarf unit, -1 to hit, it just makes you so hard to get picked up, making anything you have a force multiplier and that much more tanky. Then we get to probably my least used order, and that is the shooting phase order. This is suppressing fire. Pick a unit wholly within 12. Each time this target uses a shoot ability, basically after you do your wounds, your hits, and your damage, you would roll a dice, and if you roll less than the model slain, that unit has always strikes last. So say if you're shooting a giant horde unit, you kill 3, and you roll a 1 or a 2, then that unit has always strikes last. It's very good for horde units, and plucking off, say, a unit that has low armor, say like marauders. Very good for that, because then you give them always strikes last. But if you're targeting a unit of 6 Kroxigors or 6 Kurnoth with swords, maybe not your best pick. Or Varangard, your shooting's not going to pluck off 2 Varangard. So those are the battle traits. Those are the orders. So each hero can give an order per turn, meaning if I have 1 hero, I can give an order in my turn and also in the opponent's turn. So just keep note of that. Moving on to the battle formations. First we have 4 Dawners, Dawnbringer Crusade. This is basically just adding 2 to the movement characteristics of Cities of Sigmar units in the first turn. Just making them that much more quick on the first turn. Good for first turn battle tactics, like take the flanks or seize the center. If you need to move up the board fast on turn 1 and just set your position, that's a good way to do it. Then Ironwilled Guild Army. This is a passive ability for the whole game. You add 3 inches to the range characteristic of ranged weapons used by Cities of Sigmar units. Very strong. I love this one. It makes your cannons that much longer range, makes your fusiliers that much longer range. You're just way more potent on the board, making you have a way bigger threat range. Then we have Fortress City Defenders. Well, Cities of Sigmar units in the first battle round have fortified position. That will matter with our shooting units that have the shields. We'll get into a little bit later, but a lot of them have a rule that when they don't move, they go into fortified position. This battle formation basically makes it so they start in that fortified position. In addition to the first battle round, you subtract 1 from wound rolls attacks that target Cities of Sigmar. So you're also a little more tanky on the first turn. This one I probably use the least. It's good if you're using a lot of shooting units and you're just going to castle and not move. But being the state of the game at the time of recording, you kind of need to move and you kind of need to advance on the board. So not my favorite, but I think all these still have play. Then we have lastly the Eldritch Expertise, or the College of Arcane Expedition. Just add 1 to casting rolls for all Cities of Sigmar wizards. Very basic, but very strong nonetheless. If you're running a lot of wizards, which wizards in this army are very easy to come by and a lot really cheap, so you could hypothetically run a pretty heavy magic list and just have +1 to cast on every wizard. All 4 of these are very great. I think I use Ironworld Guild Army the most just because I do run, even if I have 1 shooting unit, that extra 3 inches of range is just, to me, very, very potent, very strong. Now we get into the heroic traits. First we have the Master of Ballistics. We're going to start seeing some patterns here with shooting. This is friendly Cities of Sigmar unit uses an alt attack for the shooting phase. You also add 1 to hit rolls, basically meaning so if I have a hero next to a unit of Fusiliers, I go alt attack, I'm +1 to hit, and also +1 to wound if that comes from that hero. Very strong. I almost always take this heroic trait. Then we have Grizzled Veteran. If the unmodified wound roll for an attack as targets this unit is 1 to 3, attack fails. Basically, you have to wound them on a 4. Very strong. I don't use it a whole lot, but I think nonetheless it's very good. Then Fiery Temper. If this unit charges turn, you can reroll charge rolls for other units wholly within 18. Basically, if you have a hero on horse or a faster hero, you can charge him in, and then if he has this, everything else can kind of support and charge in with a free reroll to charge. Awesome. If you're running a lot of cavalry and you want to guarantee those charges, it's a good one to take. Moving on to the artifacts of power, we have the Sacred Tome. Basically, if you give this to someone, it makes them a priest 1. If you give this to somebody that already is a priest, you add 1 to the chanting rolls for this unit. And also if you give it to a wizard, they lose the wizard keyword, but also gain the priest keyword, turning anything into a priest. I actually really like this. I don't see it used a whole lot, but there are some very strong priests in this army, and giving it to them for +1, I think is pretty incredible. Just making you that much more likely to get your prayers off, and that much less likely just to lose points. Now, moving on, we have the Glimmering. Each phase you reroll 1 hit roll, or 1 rune roll, or 1 save roll in the combat phase. My least favorite, I don't ever really take this. For me, it's kind of just an okay to have, and most of the times I forget that I have it. Maybe that just says something about me as a bad player, but I never take this. It's not bad, but it's just, compared to the other 3, it's just not great. Or the other 2, rather. Now we have my personal favorite, and I think 9 out of 10 times you take this. This is the Brazier of Holy Flame. You pick a Cities of Sigmar infantry unit wholly within 12 inches, and you can return up to D3 slain models. That's important to note for later. This is models, not health. So, you bring back those D3 models. Cities of Sigmar has a lot of models on the board, and it's pretty grindy at some times. This is just fantastic for recursion. This is your only really recursion, but it is amazing nonetheless. And for some units that have multiple health and you can return models, it's so strong. Always take this. I'm just going to say it outright. This is amazing. Now we move on to the spell lore. This is the spells of the Collegiate Arcane. Firstly, we have the Elemental Lightning. Pick a visible unit within 18 inches, make a casting roll, it goes off on a 7. You inflict D3 mortal damage to the target, then you bounce to everyone within 3 inches on a 4-up. So you measure 3 inches from that unit, and on a 4-up you bounce and do another D3 damage to those units within 3 inches. Pretty good. It's unlimited spell, meaning you can cast it with as many wizards as you want, but only wizards with, say, level 2 can only cast it once. Now we have the Speed of the Twin-Tailed Comet. This is a charge on a 3d6. It goes off on a 7, you just add 1 to the number of dice rolled when making charge rolls. 3d6 charge, always incredible. For this army, it's kind of on the slower end, especially the infantry. This is just fantastic, making you that much more quicker, and you can get up and you can rush the board and just take control of the board state. Amazing spell. Then we have Cinder Cloud. Pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, and then you subtract 1 from the attack's characteristic. Also pretty strong. I think Cinder Cloud and Speed of the Twin-Tailed Comet most always are the spells that I cast. Just, I love buffing me, and I love debuffing the opponent. And then we get onto the prayer lore. First we have Wrath and Ruin. Pick an enemy unit within 18 inches. The prayer goes off on a 4. This is kind of a goofy effect. So you roll 6 dice, and if the chanting roll is an 8+, then you roll 9 dice instead. And for each 5-up, you inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. If there are 3 or more damage points allocated to the target as a result, they ignore positive modifiers to save rolls, meaning in all it defends, any other buffs don't work. Pretty goofy. It never has really worked for me. the 3 5-up mortals, and then if they have a ward, it instantly kind of negates this prayer. Not my favorite, but sometimes nice to have. And then you have Unfaltering Aim, which is just +1 to hit for shooting units, and if the chanting roll is above a 10, it's also +1 to wound. Also nice to have a lot of the times if you're running the Master of Ballistic heroic traits. You're not going to really need this because you're getting +1 to hit and +1 to wound from an all-out attack anyways, but sometimes you have multiple shooting units and you want to buff them all. Then we have Oath and Steel. This one is the best. I love this spell. Or prayer, my bad. This is goes off on a 5, so it's a little bit harder. But if you are praying with a dwarf, you add 1 to the chant roll. So we'll get into that a little bit later. If it goes off, you subtract 1 to wound. You're just -1 to wound in combat. And this is not only in melee, but also in range as well. Also, if the chanting roll is above a 10, you add 1 to your save rolls. So it makes you so tanky. -1 to wound, and if you have a lot of prayer points stacked up, you get +1 to armor save. Making it so your dwarfs can get up to like a 2-up, -1 to wound, -1 to hit. This prayer is just the bread and butter of this army. I love it. This combined with the officer's orders of hold the line, giving you a 5-up ward, and then your -1 to wound, +1 armor save. Oh, it's good. I love it. Love to see it. So this is everything pre-units. Very strong. I think this army, I always will say, is the war scrolls themselves are mid, but the heroic traits, the artifacts, the spells, the prayers, and the battle formations and the officer orders make the war scrolls just so good. It's an army of kind of mid things, but with the cohesion it works so well. So let's get into some war scrolls. Starting off with Talia Verdra. This is the centerpiece model of Cities of Sigmar. Sadly, in my opinion, it does not play like the centerpiece. She keeps getting point reductions at the time of recording. We'll see where it goes, but first of all, we have her attacks. She has 6 attacks, 3s to hit, 4s to wound, rend 1, damage 2. Then we have the Manticore's the Lion Jaws. It's 3 attacks, 3s, 2s, rent 2, damage 3, and anti-monster with +1 rend. So if you're attacking a monster, it can be rent 3, damage 3. Very strong. And for a monster to hit on 3s and wound on 2s, pretty good. Then we have the Stinger. 2 attacks, 4s, 2s, rend 3, damage D3 +3. Can be really strong, really potent there. Then we have the monster chart. If it has 10 more damage points allocated to it, the attacks of the Jaws, that second attack, is now 2 instead of 3, so you lose 1. So it actually charts pretty well. We have an ability here, lead from the front. This is if this unit is in combat, pick up to 3 Cities of Sigmar units within 12 inches, and you get these benefits. You get a 5-up ward, and then you get +1 to wound. This is a once per battle phase ability, but that being said, it's very strong. Especially if you have some cavalry and this is your turn just to hit really hard and stay alive. You don't have to worry about orders. You can get a 5-up ward for all those 3 units. And also +1 to wound. Very good. I love it. Once per battle is always rough to see, but this is still pretty awesome. So then we have an ability, Unparalleled Tactician. When basically use an officer's order with this unit. So if Talia goes out in order, you can mimic it, you can echo it to another unit. Basically saying if you use hold the line, you can also pick a unit and then pick another unit. You can duplicate that, which is very strong. This is especially potent if you use the move order. The move order, like we've said earlier, if you target a human unit with the move order, you can choose another 2 units to do, totaling with 3 units to move 3 inches. If Talia does that, she picks 2 human units. She can then pick a total of 6 human units to move. So if you're running a human-centric list, you can move really fast with that and just add that much more movement. Then we have her once per turn. This is her rampage. If she's charged by a monster on a 3-up, that monster has always strikes last. I feel like it's good. You know, I don't really look for it. Most of the times I want to do the charging with Talia. I'm afraid she has a 4-up armor save, 15 health, and 12 move, and a control of 5. 4-up armor save is pretty rough, so I'm trying to get the charge off on her. I don't want to be charged with Talia, so this rampage, not my favorite, but it's still nice to have. Then we move on to the Pontifex Sinestra. This is the Pope model, little chariot Pope. Move of 5, armor save of 5, control of 2, and then 9 health. The weapons, we're not here for the weapons, don't worry, we'll move on later. This is the Scepter of the Wheel, 3 attacks, 4s, 4s, rend 0, damage D3, and the Acolytes, Clubs, and Axe, 4 attacks, 4s, 4s, rend 0, damage 1. Not good in combat, but what we're here for is it has a 4-up ward, and it's a Priest 2, which is pretty rare to see in Age of Sigmar 4. This meaning it can cast 2 prayers. It doesn't roll 2 dice for a prayer, but it can cast 2 prayers per turn. Then we have the passive Voice of the God King. Basically, you can unbind as if it was a wizard 1, so it can unbind 1 spell. Then we have its Prayer to the Vessel of Sigmar. Chance on a 5. Then you pick one of the following to effect. Then, if you roll a 10 up, you can pick 2 of these 3 abilities. So the first one is the Great Wall Turns. Add 2 to the move characteristic of Cities of Sigmar human units if they're wholly within 12. Hallowed Ground. Friendly Cities of Sigmar units have a 5-up ward if they're wholly within 12, and then Cast Out Evil. Roll a d3 for each enemy wizard and priest on the battlefield. On a 2-up, inflict that amount of mortal damage equal to the roll. Cast Out Evil is just one of my favorites. You just start plucking out priests and wizards. It's a board-wide ability, very strong. You know, if they have a wizard in the back, like a little foot hero, it could be 2 turns before they're dead if you roll well on the prayers and, the Vessel of, getting your chant off and then rolling good for the d3s. Overall, though, I love this prayer, and having a priest too, so it could pray Oath and Steel first, then Vessel of Sigmar. Very good, very good. You're not taking her for combat by any means. Then we have Flagellants. They have 1 health each, 6-up save, control 1, move 6, unit of 10. They have Castigating Flails and Clubs, 2 attacks each, 4s, 4s, rend 0, damage 1. And then they have the effect, or the passive, Glorious Martyrs, which is each time a model is slain, add 1 to the roll if the unit is wholly within 12 of the Pontifex. On a 5-up, inflict 1 mortal damage. Basically, they have murder rolls, they die, and they do mortals on their death. I have never seen Flagellants actually played, nor have I actually played them. So if that says anything, I think they're okay if you want to run like you could run like a cool like Witch Hunter, Burn the Witch kind of list, and it could be cool. I don't think it would necessarily be competitive in any sense, but that being said, Warhammer is just a reason to push the cool models around on the table. So if that's your thing, I'm all for it. Then we have the Free Guild Marshal on Griffin. This is 15 health, 12 move, 4-up armor save, and 5 control. It has the Marshal's Armaments, which is 5 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage 2, and then damage 3 on the charge. And the Griffin's Razor Claws, which is 6 attacks, 4s, 2s, rend 2, damage 3. Now, the monster chart is if it has 4 more damage points on it, the attacks of the beak, or the claws and beak, is 4, so it loses 2 attacks. Then we have the reaction. Anyone wholly within 12, if they declare a redeploy, if you roll a 1 through 3 when determining the redeploy distance, you can just set it as a 4. I love this ability. If you roll low, you need to extend like a charge, someone's coming in, it's going to be a 4. If they're 3 inches away from you, you redeploy, it's going to be a 7-inch charge. I think that's awesome. I love that ability. And then once per turn, there's Rampage, which is you pick 3 units in combo with this target, roll a dice. On a 4-up, the target cannot use commands. This is cool because it's a roar, right? You can't use commands for the rest of the turn, but it's you pick 3 units. 4-up, not so great, but you have 3 units to do that with. So kind of levels out a little bit, but 4-up is sometimes rough. Then you have the Free Guild Marshal and Relic Envoy. This is the foot hero. Very basic. You can equip them with a couple different options. You can equip them with dueling pistols and silver short sword, the Master Forged longsword, or the Heirloom Warhammer. So either of those 3. The dueling pistols is 10 range. It's 4 attacks, 3s, rend 1, damage 1, but it does have shoot in combat, which is always a good ability to see. The Heirloom Warhammer, which is my personal favorite, 3 attacks, 4s and 2s, rend 2, but damage 3. Making it kind of hit hard. We like that. And Master Forged longsword, 4 attacks, 3s, rend 1, damage 2. More reliable, but less damage, less rend. And then the silvered short sword, 4 attacks, 3s, rend 1, damage 1. Not that great, but you're taking that for the pistols. Then you have the passive, which is you add 3 to the control scores of human units wholly within 12. As you're starting to see, there's a lot of segregation between races in this army. Certain things buff certain races, and they'll only buff the certain races. So, it's a mixed armies race, but it kind of forces you into playing like the separated kind of style, which is kind of a funky style. It also has the start of the battle round. It has the attendant relic envoy. Basically, it has this little token model at the start of the battle round. You will put that on a different unit wholly within 18 inches, and that unit that has this envoy, this token, can receive orders anywhere on the board, even if they're not within 12 inches of that unit. I love this ability. If you have a unit of cavaliers or some cavalry that are going and kind of sweeping behind or sweeping from the side, you can give them the relic envoy at the start of the game and have them receive orders the whole game, even if they're not even close to the rest of your army. Love it. That's why I think you take this guy as just that ability. We move on to the Free Guild Cavalier Marshal. This is a hero on horse. It has a 10-inch move, 3-up save, control 2, health of 7. This one is equipped with pistols. It's 10-inch range, 2 attacks, 3s, forge, rend 1, damage 1. Also shoot in combat, love to see it. And has the Master Forge Cavalier Sword, which is 5 attacks, 3s, forge, rend 1, damage 2. Does not have +1 damage on charge, which is interesting. And then the horse has 2 attacks, 5s, 3s, rend 0, damage 1. And a companion attack. The passive is add 1 to charge rolls for cavaliers wholly within 12 inches of this unit. Pretty, nice to have. Not game changing. And then a once per battle ability of if this unit charged and also some cavalry charged, human cavalry charged within 12 inches of this, that unit and this hero has always strikes first. Awesome. Strikes first is so good. It's just, can't contest that. We get into the unit. This is kind of a goofy unit. This is the Free Guild Command Corps. This is a 5 move, 3 health, 4-up save, control 2. There are 6 models in this unit. This is not a hero unit. This is just a non-unique infantry unit that have health 3. Pretty weird. And they all have different attacks, so bear with me here. One of them has the Sigmar 8 Great Weapon, which is 4 attacks, 3s, rend 1, damage D3. One of them has the Enchanted Rapier, which is 1 attack, 2s, 4s, rend 2, damage D6 with crit mortals. Not a lot, but when it hits, it's good. And then an assortment of weapons. This is what the rest of them have. I think it's 3 guys have them. And then it's the 2 attacks, so it'll be 6 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 0, damage 1. Then you have the little gargoyle that has the Gargulion's Bite, which is 3 attacks, 4s to hit, 3s to win, rend 1, damage D3, but it is a companion weapon, so it doesn't benefit from other buffs. Then we have a couple passives. We have the passive of the Marshal's Retinue. If this is close to the Free Guild Marshal with Relic Envoy, the Free Guild Marshal on foot, they both have a ward of 5-up. Always love a 5-up. I will never complain about that. Then we have a once per battle reaction on the opponent's turn. If they declare a command for a unit wholly within 12 inches, you can say Yu-Gi-Oh! Trap card. That command costs an extra point. This is pretty strong, and it creates some kind of nasty moments on the table. If they do a counter charge, they only have 2 command points left, and they say, I'm going to counter charge. You say, no. This is now 3 command points. And if they cannot do it, if it doesn't go through, they don't have the command points, they still spend the command points. So if they have the 2 command points that they're saving up, you say, it costs 3. They're like, okay, I can't afford it. They still spend the 2 command points as if they did the command. Ooh, it's nasty. Granted, it's once per battle per army, so if you have multiple command corps, you can still only do this once. But that one time, it can really change the game. Then we have the rule Free Guild Adjutants, which is once per battle round in the army in any hero phase. If you give a command, which is the redeploy, rally, covering fire, or counter charge, you can pick another human unit within 12 inches to do that as well. So if you have a human unit that redeploys, you can say, okay, actually I'm going to do another redeploy, or even covering fire is very good with this. So you have 2 shooting units that are human, 1 shoots, you can say, oh, on the other turn, on the opponent's turn, you can have both those units shoot. This is very good. This is a good support piece. They are also pretty tanky. With 6 models and 3 health, that's a decent little thing to chew through. And this is where we think about the artifacts that we talked about previously. With the Brazier of Holy Flame, you bring back D3 models per end of any turn, both yours and the opponent's turn. Say if they kill a couple of these guys, they kill 3 of these guys, you could bring all 3 of those back in one end of turn phase, which is insane. You could just bring back 9 health, boom, just like that, end of every turn. It's pretty potent. It's pretty strong. I think these guys are, and especially at the time of recording, they're very cheap. So then we move on to the Fusel Major on Ogre Warhulk. This is, I love this model. I think it's a fantastic model, and I love the abilities here. So first we have the Long Fusel, which is 24-inch range. It's 3 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, rend 1, damage 2, and a crit auto wound and anti-hero. So if you're shooting a hero, it's rend 2, damage 2, pretty good. And then the Warhawk's mace in combat's 4 attacks, 4s, 2s, rend 2, damage 2. Not bad for melee combat. So it's pretty tanky. It can do with the 3-up armor, they have 8 health. It's pretty good for a hero. And this is why you take it for this ability, is the mark target's shooting phase ability. So if you pick an enemy unit to shoot, you don't have to wound, you don't have to hit, you don't have to do anything. If you pick the enemy unit to shoot with the long fusel weapon, every Cities of Sigmar human unit is +1 to hit for the whole turn. So if you shoot someone, say you shoot their big bad, you shoot Be'lakor, everything in your army is now +1 to hit Be'lakor for the whole turn. That meaning shooting, so if you have other cannons that you're shooting at them, they're +1 to hit. In combat, they're also +1 to hit because they're marked. Very good. Granted, this is only for human units, but still, nonetheless, very strong. Don't look over this. This is awesome. Then this is the first time we see a fortified position. This is basically if he doesn't move, or doesn't use a move ability, or is removed from the battlefield, subtract 1 from the rend characteristic. So basically if they stand still, they -1 to rend for incoming attacks. It makes them that much more tanky. With a 3-up armor save, he's pretty survivable. Granted, he's only 8 health, so he can get plucked, but still, very good. I love the fortified position rule. Then we move on to the battle mage. This is just the basic mage of the army. The attacks, you don't even need to worry about it. 3 attacks, 4s, rend 1, damage D3, basic wizard. 5-inch move, 6-up save, 2 control, 5 health, and as a wizard 1. Then what you do in the deployment phase is you pick a spell ability with this unit, and he's +1 to cast for that spell for the rest of the game. Amazing. This also includes manifestations. You could pick chain lightning and just cast that up +1 to cast for him. This could also pair with the battle formation of Collegiate Experience, where you're also +1. So this guy with the +1 from the formation, and also whatever spell you pick, can be +2. That's without places of power or anything like that. It could be a strong caster for just a really cheap little guy. Then we have Big Battle Mage. We have the Battle Mage on Griffin. It is 15 health, 12 move, 4-up save, 5 control. The Amber Spear, range of 12, attack, 3 attacks, 4s, 3s, rend 1, damage D3, but it is anti-monster, not bad. Then you have the Beast Staff. It's 3 attacks, 4s, 3s, rend 1, damage D3, and then you have the Claws and the Beak, which is 6 attacks, 4s, 2s, rend 2, damage 3 and a companion. The monster chart is if it has 10, it loses 2 attacks, so it goes down to 4 attacks on the beaks and claws. Then we have a once per turn army combat phase ability. This is the rampage. You roll a dice on a 2-up, you add 1 to the damage characteristic of the claws and beaks if you're targeting a monster. Ooh, it can be good. Damage 4 against monsters, not bad, not bad. On a 2-up too, it's a little more reliable than a lot of rampages that you see that are on a 3-up. So, and he's a wizard 1, and he can fly around. So he can fly around, cast some spells, be okay in combat. Not bad. I like this guy. Up next we have the Battle Mage on Celestial Hurricanum. This is a good little support piece here. We have 4-up save, 5 control, 8 move, and 12 health. It has, the wizards have 3 attacks, 4s, rend 1, damage D3s, and then the horse is just 4 attacks, 5s, 3s, 0 rend, damage 1, basic horse attack. But why you take this is these 2 abilities here. So firstly, you can pick D3 human units within 12 inches of this to be the targets, and then you add 1 to hit rolls. This is good if you're not running the Fusel Major on Ogre Warhulk, and if you don't want to spend a lot of points on all-out attack, this is a good way to get that +1 to hit. Also, you have the Storm of Shemtek, which is in the shooting phase, your shooting phase specifically. You can pick an enemy unit within 12 inches, and then make a number of D3 rolls equal to the current battle round. So if it's round 3, you roll 3 D3s, and on 2-ups for those, you inflict that many mortals. It actually can be really quite good and quite strong, and you can start to pluck a lot of wounds on units. And it's mortal damage too, which is always good, and I'll never complain about mortal wounds. Now we have the Battle Mage on the Luminarch of Hysh, very similar to the previous one. What it does is it gives every Cities of Sigmar unit, not just specifically human, which is good to know, it gives them a ward of 6-up. Always take that. In this army, it might not be the best because there are a lot of ways to get a 5-up ward with your order of Hold the Line. Then we have the passive of each, in the shooting phase, each time this unit attacks, it's a searing beam light. You can pick a unit on the battlefield within range of the target, or the shooting range, and you inflict D3 mortal damage on each visible unit, friendly and enemy, in the line that it passes across. So you basically draw a line, inflict D3 mortal damage on each of that in that line, which is the searing beam of light ranged weapon. I forgot to mention it's the same. It's 8 move, 4 save, 5 control, and 12 health, and the same melee profile. So this one's decent. I'd rather take the Hurricane personally and have the potent shooting and also the +1 to hit, but still could be played. Then we have kind of the meat and potatoes of the human category. We have first the Free Guild Still Helms. This is a basic battle line unit. 4 up save, control 1, 1 health, and 5 move. And then their weapons is 2 attacks, 4s, rend 0, damage 1. So pretty dang basic. But the ability is pretty nice. In the movement phase, in your movement phase, you can pick an objective that you are contesting and is not controlled by enemy models, and then roll dice. On a 3-up, all human units get a 5-up ward. Good way to get 5-up ward by sitting on castling up on an objective. Very good. Then we have the Free Guild Fusiliers. This is where we start to see the fortified position rule, which takes place in your movement phase. We'll start with that because this will kind of matter. So, firstly, if they don't use a move ability, they become fortified. What fortified does is you can subtract 1 from all rend characteristics of attacks targeting you. Very good. And in this case, it will change your weapon profile. So if you are in the fortified, you will use the fortified position Fusel Cannon, and if you're not, if you've moved, you'd use the Fusel Cannon mobile. So if you're fortified, you have an 18-inch range, 2 attacks, 4s, rend 1, damage 1. And then if you're the mobile one, you have 1 attack, 4s, rend 1, damage 1, but it's also 12-inch range, but it does have shooting combat, which is good. Then you have the melee weapons of the bayonets, which is 4s, rend 0, damage 1. Very tanky shooting unit. I know they're only a 4-up save, but if you -1 to rend and you give them all a defense, they can be a good screen and a pretty good tanky unit, which is good. And then they have the Black Powder Squire, which is a little token that you give on them, and then while you have the token, while you have the Squire, you can reroll 1 hit roll in your shooting phase. That being said, as soon as you roll a 1 with that reroll, the Squire dies. For 9 out of 10 times, I feel like I roll a 1 the first time and he dies instantly, so I kind of forget about him most times. Then we have the Celestial Hurricane without the Battle Mage on top. This basically does everything, but is not a Wizard 1. I forgot to mention that the Battle Mage was a Wizard 1. Now basically this is the same War Scroll. Now remove that Wizard 1. So we'll briefly just go over that one. And then the same with the Luminarch of Hysh. It's the same War Scroll, but without the Battle Mage on top. So same Searing Beam, same Aura of 6 of Ward, -1 Wizard level. So not a whole lot of cases I would take this without the Wizard on top. 9 out of 10 times I would take it with the Battle Mage on top. Then we have the Free Guild Cavalier. I feel like this is my greatest disappointment in this index, and that is because just the hitting profile. So it's a 3-up save, it's control 1, and then health 3, move 10. Standard cavalry, but the weapon is 3 attacks, 4s, rend 1, damage 1, and +1 on the charge. 4s to hit and wound is really, it creates some pretty bad, feels bad. Wish it was a 3-4, wish it was a 4-3, something just to mitigate. You don't do a whole lot of damage, and heaven forbid if you don't get the charge, they're especially not doing a whole lot of damage. Then they have the horse, but on the charge they do have impact hits, so in the charge phase, if this unit charged, roll dice for each model in this unit, and on a 4-up, they inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. Now we have the Ironweld Great Cannon. This is the same as the Fusiliers, so there's a fortified shooting position and also, well, not a fortified. There's 2 different shooting profiles. It has the fortified position rule, in which if you don't move, you get -1 to rend. You can choose, if it's in fortified, you can choose either shot. But if it is not fortified, you can only do the grape shot. So first the cannonball is 24-inch range, 2 attacks, 4s, then 2s, then rend 2, damage D3 +2. Really solid damage output, max of 10 per cannon. And then you have the Great Cannon Grape Shot, which is 12-inch range, but you have 5 attacks, 3s, rend 1, damage 2. A little more consistent, but less, max damage potential. Well, it actually has the same max damage potential, but less rend. So then we have the crew, which is just 2 attacks, force 4s, rend 0, damage 1. Nothing to really focus there. Then we have the Wielder Core Hunter. This is one of my favorite units in the book. I just love this unit for battle tactics and flanking and just taking the sides. This is a shooting unit. They have 11 models in this unit, so it's kind of a goofy. It was a Warcry warband, but it's now here in Age of Sigmar. So we have one model with the hunting arbalist, and then we have the rest of the humans with crossbows, and then there's a whole bunch of dogs. So it's kind of a weird split of things. So the arbalist, the one unit, has 2 attacks, 4s, 3s, rend 2, damage d3. Not bad for shooting. And then the other crossbows are 2 attacks, 4s, rend 1, damage 1. The dogs, are 4s, 3s, rend 0, damage 1. And then the humans themselves have a weapon of force 4s, rend 0, damage 1. They have the passive of if they are within the cover of, if they're being affected by the cover or terrain ability, they cannot be targeted or visible by anyone within 12 or outside of 12 inches. So it makes them kind of cloaked. They're a little harder to see, a little harder to get to if they're near terrain or in wildwoods. Then they also have the deployment phase, in which they can move in the deployment phase. Just a way to get them a little further up and a little easier access to get them battle tactics or objectives. I forgot to mention too, with the hidden and dangerous passive rule, they have the +1 to hit while they are receiving the cover bonus from terrain features, or within 3 inches of terrain. Now we get into the steam tank side of the Cities of Sigmar. Also, to me, a big kind of letdown. I wish steam tanks were good. I love the models. I love the idea of just having normal dudes. You have the village baker inside a steam tank, and he's just fighting against demons and giant creatures in this, in the mortal realms. I love the idea of it. But it's kind of sad that they don't hold up a lot. So we have 8-inch move for the steam tank commander. We have 2 up save, very good, 5 control and 12 health. The shooting profiles we have, so we have one attack on the steam cannon, which is 18-inch range, 4s, 2s, rend 2, damage d3 +2. This is the same shooting profile as the Ironwood Guild cannon, but it's 1 less attack. Feels kind of bad. Then we have the steam gun, which is 12-inch range, 2d6 attacks, 2s, 4s, rend 0, damage 1. A little iffy there. And then we have the commander's rifle, the guy on top, which is 3 attacks, 3s, rend 1, damage 2. Not bad. And then we have the melee, which is just 3 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage 2, and the wheels of the tank themselves, which are companion, 6 attacks, 4s, 2s, rend 1, damage 2. The abilities here we have are one in the hero phase. In your hero phase, more pressure. You can roll 2d6. If the roll is less than the number of damage points allocated to this unit, inflict d3 mortal damage, and then otherwise, if you don't, pick one of the following effects to apply to this unit, which is you can shoot and run and charge in the same turn, or you can choose the add 3 attacks to the steam gun, so making it 2d6 +3. Both pretty solid. And then you have the division commander, which is you can pick 2 friendly steam tank units in this to be targets, and for the rest of the turn add 1 to the hit rolls for shooting attacks made by this unit and each to the targets, just making your steam tanks hit a little easier. Pretty good ability. If you're running anything with shooting, you're probably going to be running the Fusel Major on Ogre Warhulk, which already gives +1 to hit, so maybe not super needed, but nice to have. Now we are moving on to the steam tank itself. Basically the same profiles, but minus the guy on top. So you lose the commander's rifle, and you also lose the sword for the melee weapon. And you also keep the more pressure ability. So it's basically the same war scroll. You keep the cannon, you keep the steam gun, you keep more pressure, but you lose the +1 to hit. Obviously that comes from the general. Like I've said, kind of disappointing. I wish it was a little bit better, but that being said, I think it's still fun to run a couple of these bad boys. Now we have Galen Van Dents. Him and Deloria Van Dents are paired together. So first we'll focus on Galen. He has 2 control, 4 up save, 5 up, 5 move, and 5 health. He is paired with Deloria, so he's 1 unit, but he has to be taken with Deloria. So these are a package deal here. Then he has the Spell Banishing Pistol, range of 10, 3 attacks, 3s, rend 1, damage 1, shoot in combat, which is always really good to see. And then the Runic Broadsword, which is 4 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage 2, but anti-wizard +1 rend. Always love to see that. Then we have the Weapons of Banishment, which is you double the damage characteristic of units' weapons for this attacks that targets wizards, priests, or manifestations. And that is both range and melee. So that turns his pistol into damage 2 if you target a wizard, priest, or manifestation, or his broadsword turns it to damage 4. Really strong. He can really mess up some wizards there. And then the passive is while he is in range of Dolori Van Dence, in combat range, they have strikes first, and they both have a 5-up ward. Love that. A free 5-up and free strikes first. Pretty strong Witch Hunter unit right there. Then we have Dolori Van Dence, and then she has the Antithomic Crossbow, which is 18-inch range, 2 attacks, 3s, rend 1, damage 2, and anti-wizard. Then she has the Consecrated Blade, which is 3 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage 2. I forgot to mention she has the same profile of 4-up save, 2 control, 5 health, 5 move, and she also has the same passive of Weapons of Banishment that double the damage against wizards, priests, and manifestations. So her crossbow is damage 4, as well as her melee, damage 4. Very good. And these guys are getting pretty cheap at the time of recording, so just awesome heroes to have. It's also 2 separate heroes to give orders to, making it pretty strong support heroes to give out orders. Do what you need to do to make your army run the way you want it to. We are now moving into the dwarf side of the book here. So starting off, we have the Warden King. This is the main hero for the dwarf side of things. He has a 3-up armor save, 2 control, 5 health, 4 move. As all dwarfs will have 4-inch move. Kind of hurts, but makes sense that their short little legs can't move them that far. He has the Runic Hammer, which is 5 attacks, 3s, rend 2, damage 2. And he has the Fearless Leader ability, which is you can pick a friendly non-hero Cities of Sigmar Dwarden unit that has not used fight, and that target can use the fight ability immediately after he uses fight. So he just procs another dwarf unit to fight right after. Always pretty good. And then in the deployment phase, he has the Ancestral Grudge Bearer, which is he can pick an enemy unit in your opponent's army to bear the grudge against. And for the rest of the battle, you have +1 to wound with your dwarf units when you target that unit. Love to see it. That's like the classic dwarf feeling and the classic lore, so it's good to see that kind of integrated in the rules, and it's always pretty fun. And I mean, hey, +1 to wound is always solid. I won't complain about that. Now, this guy up next, the Rune Lord, he is the bread and the butter, and he is in most lists I see in Cities of Sigmar competitively. He is just undeniably some of the best war scroll in this game, and he pairs really well with some of the other best war scrolls in this book. So we have the Rune Lord, 3-up save, 4 move, 5 health, 2 control. He has the Rune Staff and Forge Hammer, which is 3 attacks, 4s, 3s, rend 1, damage D3, but he is a Priest 1, which is awesome. He also has the Runes of Spellbreaking, which allows him to unbind as if he had Wizard 1, so he can also unbind, which makes him very strong as the counterplay as well. His War Scroll Prayer is Forge Fire, goes off on a 5, you can roll d6. Basically what it does is you add 1 to the rend characteristic of dwarf units. So you pick 1 dwarf unit and you add 1 to rend. If you roll a 10, you can pick another dwarven unit to also give them +1 to rend. Some of the meat and potatoes of your army is going to be dwarfs, giving them an extra rend. Very strong. Moving into the actual units, we have the Longbeards. They have a 4 move, 3-up save, 1 control, 1 health. They have the Hollowed Weapons, which is 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage 1. And they have the passive I Thought Dwarden Were Made of Sterner Stuff, which are add 2 to the control scores of friendly Cities of Sigmar dwarf units, excluding the Longbeard units while they're wholly within 12 of this unit. Basically just adding 2 to the control score, not the characteristic but the score itself. I don't see them a whole lot. I don't think they're bad. I just think there's better, especially when it comes to dwarf units that we'll see pretty soon here. Alright, hammers. Oh boy, these things rock. I never leave home without the hammers. These guys are just the hammer and the anvil of your army. They do so much for so cheap, relatively. They are getting points increases every single time they come out with a data or a battle scroll, but they're still amazing. So they have a 3-up save, 1 control, 1 health, 4-up move, classic dwarf. They have the Grommel Great Hammer, which is 2 attacks a pop, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, rend 1, damage 2. Damage 2 for just a core infantry unit, not bad. If you have a unit of 20 of them, potential, 80 damage. So then we have the Oathsworn ability. This is what we're talking about. While friendly Cities of Sigmar Dwarven heroes are wholly within this unit's combat range, this unit and the Dwarf hero has a 5-up ward. This pairs incredibly well with the Rune Lord. You slap a Rune Lord in here, they're both getting a 5-up ward. Rune Lords can pray, give them an extra rend. Pray on Oath and Steel, it makes them -1 to wound. Now, if you remembered correctly too, we have the order that if you give hold the line, which makes you always strikes last, but also a 5-up ward. If you target a dwarf unit, -1 to hit. So you can get these guys to a -1 to hit, -1 to wound with the prayer, and also a 5-up ward. These guys are so tanky, and if you, heaven forbid, you get some good prayers off with 10 ups, they can be at a 2-up armor save. They are hard to pull. They are amazing. If you're getting into this army, I know it's a little scary because 4th edition might come around and these guys might get removed. We're kind of in a weird spot where they might get to Old World. But if you have a way to play these without having the risk of buying the actual Old World models, I'm all for it. I say do it. These guys are amazing. Then we have the Iron Breakers. This is a unit that have a 3-up armor save, classic dwarfs, 4 move, 1 control, 1 health. All of them have this. I don't know why I'm even reading over this point. It's all the same characteristics. They have the Drake Fire Pistols, which is 10 range, 1 attack, 3s, rend 1, damage 1, shoot in combat. It's just nice to have. And then the Iron Breaker Weapon, which is 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 0, damage 1. Not too bad. And then the Grommel Shield Wall. While this unit is affected by the Hold the Line, which is the always strikes last and a 5-up ward, this unit gets a 4-up ward. I mean, pretty awesome. That's a 50% chance to make a ward save. I'd take that. Good unit. I don't use them a whole lot, but I think they're very good. I don't think they are bad in any means. Then we have the Iron Drakes, the dwarf shooting unit. They have the Drake guns. They have a 15 range, 1 attack, 3s, rend 1, damage 1, but they're anti-infantry, which will put it to rend 2. And then they have the Grudge Hammer Torpedo, which only the champion can take. So it's 1 attack, 3s, rend 1, damage D3, and anti-monster, making that rend 2 against monsters. Not bad to pluck off that little monster. Then they have the Plated Fist, which they just go in and punch, which is always awesome, right? Which is 1 attack, 4s, rend 0, damage 1. And then they have the Cinder Blast Bomb ability, which is once per turn in your shooting phase, you can declare a unit that is not in combat, pick a unit within 6 inches, so very close range. That's kind of the killer here. And roll a dice on a 3-up, inflict that many mortals on the target. So basically you can do 3, 4, 5, or 6 mortal damage if you're nice and close to them. So it's usually going to happen as soon as they're running into you, you hurry and toss a little bomb on them. I've seen people play these guys, especially more recently, that other stuff is kind of hiking up in price. These guys are staying put. So you kind of start to see these a little bit more. The Cogsmith, another hero. He has a 3 save, 4 move, 5 health, and 2 control. You have the range weapons of the Cogsmith Firearm, which is 15 range, 4 attacks, 3s, rend 1, damage 1. Then you have the Gun Butt and the Cog Axe. Love it. Just punching people with the gun. Then it's 3 attacks, 4s, rend 1, damage 2. And he has a once per turn ability in the hero phase to buff gyro bombers and gyrocopters, which we'll get to in a second, which you pick 3 visible friendly gyrocopters and gyro bombers wholly within 18 inches of the target. Roll dice for each target. On a 3-up, you add 1 to hit. If you don't want to spend command points, always good to have, especially if you're running a lot of gyrocopters and gyro bombers. I think the Cogsmith is a must. The last 2 units that we have in the Dwarf Source Scrolls are the gyrocopters and the gyro bombers. Obviously, we have first the gyrocopter. We have a 3-up save, 2 control, 5 health, and 12 move. Fast guys for little dwarfs. Give them a plane, they can start to move. Then they have the gyrocopter guns, which is 12 range, 5 attacks, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, rend 1, damage D3. Good little consistent. And rotor blades in melee combat, you just chopping them up. 3 attacks, 4s, rend 1, damage D3. Then they have the Guild Bombs, which is if this unit has used a move ability in the phase, you can pick a unit that does not have the fly ability or fly keyword. Roll a D3 on a 2-up, you inflict that many mortal equal to the roll. So just drop in little bombs on them. Now we get to the real bombing, the Gyro Bomber. They have the same profile. They have 1 more health, so they're 6 health, but they're 12 move, 3 sub save, and 2 control. They have the Clatter Gun, which is 12-inch range, 3 attacks, 4s, rend 1, damage D3. And they have the Rotor Blades, which is 3 attacks, 4s, rend 1, damage D3. The same as the Gyrocopter. Now we have the Grudge Buster Bombs in the movement phase. This is very similar to the Gyrocopter, but you pick a unit if you've used a move ability, and this unit that you pick cannot have the fly keyword. and you pick one of the following. One of them is just a tactical bombing, which is you roll a d3 on a 2-up, you do that many mortals, so a possible 2 or 3 mortal wounds, or you can drop it all, which is you make a 2 rolls of d3 for each 2-up, inflict that many mortals, but then it also bounces and you roll a d3 for each unit, friendly and enemy, within the target's combat range. So if he's in a whole group, you can get a couple, 2 or 3 more units. You could possibly really pop off and do a lot of mortals there. Basically just picking each unit within combat range of them. But it also targets you too, so if you're in combat with that unit, not good. Then after that, once you use the drop it all, this unit can no longer use the ability for the rest of the battle. It can only do that once, but not bad. And that is our dwarf side of the book. We are finally moving on to the elf category, our last race within Cities of Sigmar. We're going to start with the sorceress. This is the wizard one of the elf race. This is, for the most part, how I take all of my elf regiments is with a sorceress. She is the regiment leader for that. So she has, as of characteristics, nothing special, classic wizard. She's a 6-up save, a 6 move, 5 health, and 2 control. She is the witch staff, which is 1 attack, 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage d3, pretty average for a wizard. And then she has once per turn in your hero phase ability, in which you pick a friendly as a Cities of Sigmar elf unit wholly within 6, and then you add 1 to the casting rolls for the unit for this turn. So you just instantly get 1+1 to cast. Then you roll a dice, and on a 4-up, you slay one of those models. You kill one of those models. So you get the +1 no matter what you roll, which is amazing. But on a 4-up, you kill a model. It's kind of weird where a 4-up, usually high number on dice equals good. In this case, high number on dice equals bad. Kind of weird if you ask me, but that's just what it is. Then we have the once per turn in the combat phase. You pick an enemy unit in combat with this to be the target, and then reroll dice. On a 3-up, subtract 1 from hit and wound rolls from the target's attacks. Really strong ability, really good. That being said, if she's in combat, it's over for her. She's toast. With a 6-up armor save, 5 health, yeah, she's not getting through it. So, a good ability, maybe can save someone else in that unit, but it sure ain't saving her. Then we move on to the sorceress on Black Dragon. She has now 12 move, 14 health, 4-up save. Not that much better for being on a dragon, which is kind of sad. And a 5 control. She has the Dragon's Breath, which is a range of 10. It's attacks d3 plus 3, max 6 there. 2 to hit, 4s to wound, rend 1, damage 1, and it has shoot in combat, which is always good to see. Then the melee weapons, it has the Cruel Weapons, which is 3 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage d3. And then the dragon itself has 6 attacks, 4s, 2s, rend 2, damage 2. And this has a chart of damage when it has 10 or more damage on it. The attacks go down to 4 for the dragon itself. You get a couple abilities here that are actually really nice to have. Number 1, you get a command underling, so pick 3 elf units within 12 inches of her, wholly within, and you add 3 to their move characteristics. Just makes elves who are already on the faster side of Cities of Sigmar that much faster. Love to see it. Then we have the once per turn army end of any turn ability, so if she is in combat with someone, this is her rampage. She rolls a dice on a d3, reroll a d3. On a 2-up, you inflict that amount of mortal damage on the target, and if any models are slain by that, you get a dark sorcery token, up to a maximum of 3 tokens, and then she has +1 to cast for each dark sorcery token. So pretty nice ability. She's fast, which is awesome for a wizard, and she can go around and kind of do some mortal damage, and then get +1 to cast. Always pretty awesome to have. I actually like this model. I really like the utility that she has, but she's not a fighter. I mean, don't let the dragon deceive you. She's not going to hit really hard in combat by any means, but is fast and has more health, which I always am down for. Moving on to the units, we have first the Dread Spears, which are 6 move, 4-up save, 1 control, and 1 health. The melee weapon is 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 0, damage 1, but they're anti-charge, so they're a good little castle unit here. And combat phase ability is if this unit did not charge this turn, add 1 to the rend rolls for the attacks for the rest of the turn. So potentially if they get charged, they're +1 to rend, and they're also 3s and 3s to wound, which is really good. Finding a way to buff your wounding is always awesome. It's easy to get +1 to hit, but wound is a little harder. Then we have the Black Guard, which are same save, 4-up, and then 6 move, health 1, control 1. They have the Halberd, which is 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, base rend 1, and then damage 1. So, a little bit better than the profile for the Dread Spears, but they don't have any abilities on their weapon. But they do have the ability of, while other elf infantry heroes are nearby, them and the elf hero get a 5-up ward. Very similar to the Hammers rule, but these are not nearly as good as the Hammers. Now we go to a unit that I have personally never seen on the table, nor do I think I will ever see it on the table. This is the War Hydra. This has a move of 8, a save of 5, which is really just kind of a bummer for a monster, and it has a control of 5, and has 12 health. It has a ranged weapon of 10 inches, and it has 6 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, and has 0 rend, but damage D3. Not that great for a ranged weapon. Has shooting combat, which is not bad, but kind of rough. Then it has the Razor Sharp Fangs, which is 6 attacks, 4s, and then 2s, and rend 1, damage 2, but is anti-infantry for +1 rend. So against infantry, rend 2, damage 2, not bad. Then it has the Cruise, Goads, and Whips, which is 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 0, damage 1. Not gonna do anything there. And then once per turn at the end of any turn, the Hydra heals 6. So, not bad. That being said, with the 5-up armor save, it's going to get kind of dumpstered on real quick. Then it has the combat phase Rampage, which is pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit, make 6 rolls of D3 for each roll that exceeds the target health, inflict mortal damage on the target. So this is going to be good against horde units that have low health. You could hopefully get, 6 mortal wounds on them, but it's a weird kind of goofy rule. I wish it was just roll a d6 and let the re-up it did that many mortals. It's kind of a goofy rule. Kind of weird if you ask me, but sometimes there's a place for it, I guess. I've never seen it, nor do I think you should ever take it if you're running a competitive list, but it's fun to have. Then we're going on to the Bleak Swords, which are same characteristics as most of the Elf Infantry, 6 move, 4-up save, control 1, health 1. It's the Darkling Sword, which is 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 0, damage 1, but crit 2 hits. The no rend makes this, even the crits, just a little less effective. Unless you're swinging into Marauders or Skaven, you're not going to be doing a whole lot there. The passive is add 1 to the attacks characteristic while you are contesting an objective you do not control. So good little units that can contest. That being said, I don't think I'd ever take these guys. I think there are just far better elf units in this book, especially some elf infantry units. One that we are about to talk about, and that is Executioners. This unit I think is one of my favorite units in the Cities of Sigmar book. It is just a hammer. It just punches so hard. It is amazing. They have a 6 move, 4-up save, control 1, health 1, the same as always, but the Executioner's Dredge, which is 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage 1, but it has crit mortals. Ooh, amazing. We love to see crit mortals here. Its passive is if this unit charges turn, they score critical hits on an unmodified roll of 5-up rather than just a 6-up. This is just woo. So if you have a unit, say you have this unit reinforced, so it's 20 models, you get the charge, and then you start scoring crits on 5s, but also because you charge, you can do the officer's order of striking them down, which gives them an additional attack, so they would have a total of 60 attacks. 60 attacks crit mortals? Whoa, that averages at 20 mortals just on one charge turn. 20 mortals is enough to take anything out. Amazing. Amazing ability. And just an awesome looking unit if you ask me. I would always recommend taking some Executioners in your list. Another amazing unit in this army, especially on the elf side of things, is Dark Shards. This is the elf range unit here. So they have the same thing, but a 5-up armor save. They have their crossbow, which is 15-inch range, 2 attacks to hit of 3 to wound of 4, rend 0, damage 1, but it is anti-infantry +1 rend. Now this unit has an ability that if you have not used a move ability for this turn, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the Mastercraft repeater crossbows for the rest of the turn. So that being said, if they don't move, they each have 3 attacks apiece. On a reinforced unit, that's 60 shots. If you're targeting an infantry unit, 60 shots at 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage 1. It can do some stuff. It can really mess through some units. I think these are just better than Fusiliers in most cases. Fusiliers have the advantage of just being tanky, but Dark Shards are awesome. Here we go to another unit I don't see a whole lot, and that's the Drakespawn Chariot. This is the Barbs. They have a 10-inch move, 4-up armor save, 8 health, and 2 control. They have the Barbed Spear, which is 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage 1. but on the charge is another damage. And then they have the Drake Spawn's Jaws, which is 6 attacks, 4s, 3s, rend 1, damage 1. Not bad for the companion attack. Then they have the Scythe Runner's charge phase ability, and if this unit charges turn, you roll a d3. On a 2-up, it inflicts that many mortals. It's just really small impact hits. Most of the time it's not going to matter all that much, but I guess mortals is mortals. There are better units, I think, to take, the flanks and take objectives. I think there's just better units that are better at what this does. Then we have the Dreadlord on Black Dragon. This is the other variant of the hero rather than the Sorceress on Black Dragon. This is just the fighter on top of it. So he has a crossbow, so it's 12-inch ranged, 2 attacks, 4s, rend 0, damage 1, but 2 crits. Then he has the same breath weapon as the other one. It's d3 plus 3 attacks, with a 10-inch range on 2s to hit, 4s to wound, and rend 1, damage 1, but shoot in combat. The only thing different here about the ability is he also has the Dreadlord's weapons, which is 5 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage 2, but plus 1 damage on the charge, so to damage 3. It has a monster chart of when it has 10 damage on it, the dragons goes to 4 attacks. Then it has the passive of you add 1 to charge rolls for friendly elf cavalry nearby this unit. Plus 1 to charge is always good. Never comes in play too much for me, but always nice to have. And then it has the combat phase ability of pick all units within this unit's combat range. Excluding this unit to be the targets, roll a d3 for each target. On a 2-up, inflict that many mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. Pretty strong rampage, more than just 1 impact hit. This does, impacts to everything, and this is a rampage, so this is every combat phase, which is really good. Still don't see him a whole lot. I think the Sorceress on Black Dragon is just better in my opinion, especially with the Wizard one, but I could see a world where you take him. Moving on to the cavalry side of things, we have first the Dark Riders. This is the fast, kind of lighter cavalry here on the elf side of things. They have a 12-inch move, 3 health, 1 control, and a 4-up armor save. So even for a light cavalry, the 4-up armor save is not bad. And then they have the repeater crossbow, which is 12-inch range, 2 attacks, 4s, rend 0, damage 1, but it is crit 2 hits. And their melee weapons is 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage 1, but plus 1 damage on the charge. And the Dark Steed's Vicious Bites, which is 2 attacks, 5s, 3s, rend 0, damage 1. It's just standard steed, or standard horse attack. But why you take this unit is their end of any turn, so both yours and the enemy turn, they pick a unit while they're in combat with, they roll a dice. On a 3-up, they inflict d3 mortal damage, and they can immediately use the retreat ability as if it was your movement phase. This is awesome ability. So what you can do is you can have these guys on the sides, you can have them on objectives. If someone does catch up to these guys, pin them down but don't kill them, they can just retreat, do some mortal wounds, and just repeat the process of taking their lands, taking the flanks, taking a side objective, then just dip in after the combat. Then we have the Drake Spawn Knights, which is this is a 10-inch move, a 3-up save, 3 health, and the control 1. This is more your elite cavalry. I love this unit, and they're very, very strong. They have 2 attacks, 3s to hit, 4s to wound, rend 1, damage 1, but plus 1 damage on the charge. And then they have 3 attacks for the mounts, 4s, 3s, and then rend 1, damage 1. So for the mounts, it's a lot of attacks, and it's not bad. It hits harder, or it hits worse, but it wounds better. And just rend 1 is awesome on a mount. And then they have the any combat phase ability, where for the rest of the turn, add 1 to the attacks characteristics of the Drake spawns, while the unit they're in combat with is damaged or has a model slain. Awesome. So, you have a couple of damage, or a couple wounds through, or mortals, or a couple of models taken off. Each Drake spawn have 4 attacks, so in a unit of 10, the mounts have 40 attacks. It's a lot of dice, and just by kind of numbers and things, you can shoot through a lot here. And also you're at 3-up armor save, which is solid. Then we have a lone hero here, the Assassin. He has 6-inch move, 5-up save, 2 control, 5 health. He has 6 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 4s, rend 1, damage 2, but he's anti-hero, which is plus 1 rend, and also crit mortals. So 6 attacks, crit mortals, not bad. And he has the passive while he is within combat range of a friendly infantry unit that has 5 or more models in it. This unit is not visible to enemy units, so he's just completely invisible, which is awesome. Also, he has the passive, this unit strikes first if he charges this turn. So he's not bad. I think this guy is a really solid pick for just having someone follow your infantry around and just give orders. I wouldn't really send him in, but he's just like kind of an order piece, and just having him give him these orders and just dish out this utility. I think it's an amazing hero, and he's really cheap, so that's always a plus. Then we move on to the Black Ark Fleet Master. He is the hero for the Black Ark Corsairs. He has 6 move, 4 save, 2 control, 5 health. He has the Wicked Cutlass and Murder Hook, pretty gnarly sounding thing. He has 5 attacks, 3s to hit, wounds on 4s, rend 1, damage 2, and crit mortals. Always love a crit mortal. Then he has the fight ability, the reaction, where pick a friendly Black Ark Corsairs unit that does not use the fight ability. They just basically pick right after he fights, and they also add 1 to the attacks characteristics after they do so. Pretty good. We could go into the Black Ark Corsairs themselves. They're the same kind of as most elves. They have a 6 move, 5 save, 1 control, 1 health. They do all have a crossbow, so it's 10-inch range, 2 attacks, 4s, rend 0, damage 1, but shooting combat, which is always good to have. They have the Vicious Blades, which is 2 attacks, 3s to hit, 4s to wound, rend 0, damage 1, and they have the passive where each time you make an unmodified save roll of 6, you inflict 1 mortal damage back to the unit that you use the fight ability. I really like that ability. I don't use these guys a whole lot, nor do I see them used a whole lot, but I really kind of just like that ability of just, it benefits when you make good armor saves. It just does a mortal back. Kind of love it. Kind of think you could kind of play into it and really lean into it, and it'd be kind of a fun list to try out. Here we have a couple more war scrolls that I never see, nor I think you should see on the table, but first is the Scourge Runner Chariot. Basically, this is very similar to the Drake Spawn Chariot, but just worse, as if it does have anti-monster on the shooting. And the melee weapons, you have the 16-inch range for the shot, with 2 attacks, 3s, rend 1, damage D3, and the ability is anti-monster. Same with the spear's anti-monster with 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage 1. And then you have the horses, so you lose the Drake Spawn attacks that you had on the Drake Spawn Chariot, but then you have the ability where you +1 to hit rolls and wound rolls if you shooting attacks that target a monster. So this is just an anti-monster chariot, but with a 5-up save and 8 health. I think the monster is going to chase this down and kill it itself before it kills the monster. Not that great, if you ask me. Then you have the Cerberus, which is the alternative kit to the Hydra. It is 6 attacks, 4s, 2s, rend 1, damage D3. And I forgot to mention it has 12 health, 8 move, 5-up save, and 5 control. And also it has the same as the Cruise Goads and Whips, which is 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 0, damage 1. Not super great for a monster profile, if you ask me. It does have an end of turn rampage, which you pick an enemy turn in combat with this, and then roll a dice. On a 3-up, subtract 5 from the target's control score for the rest of the turn. Just not a good war scroll, if you ask me. Ooh, I think the Hydra's better a little bit, but yeah, I like the model more, but yeah, I don't think there's ever a world where you take this and feel good about it. Unless you really have a good looking model and it's well painted and just want to put it on the table. Other than that, I wouldn't ever take him. Here we are finishing out with a couple more war scrolls. We go back to humans for 2 more war scrolls here. We have the Alchemite Warforger, which he has a 5 move, 5-up save, 5 health, and control 2. He is a wizard 1, which is really awesome. He has the Tongue Staff, which is 3 attacks, 4s, rend 1, damage D3. But he has the ability in the hero phase where you pick a unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit, roll a dice. On a 3-up, you add 1 to the save rolls for the units until the start of your next turn. I love it, especially with Cavaliers. This can be really strong. Making Cavaliers +2 to their, +1s to a 2-up armor save is just really incredible. And he's a wizard 1, so it's just really nice to have an actual little foot wizard laying around. Then we are up to the Menace of Age of Sigmar 4th edition as recorded, or at the time of recording rather, Callus and Toll. These guys are all over the place, and I think rightfully so. They are just good. They're just good at points, and they're good at winning the game for you. So this is very similar to the Vendents, where they're kind of anti-wizards, priests, and manifestations. But let's kind of go into it. So they have a 5-inch move, 4-up save, control 2, health of 5. And this is 2 models. So this hero has 2 models to it. So basically anytime you see an attacks, it just double that, right? So they have a range of 10 3 attacks. They hit on 3s, they wound on 3s, and they rend 1 and then damage 1. But anti-wizard +1 rend, and they also have shooting combat. Then their melee weapon is Azurite Blades, which is 4 attacks a pop, which is to hit on 3s, wound on 4s, rend 1, damage 2, and also anti-wizard. The meat and the potatoes of this war scroll is their right tools for the job passive effect, which is you double the damage characteristic for weapon attacks that target wizards, priests, or manifestations. Same thing as the Vengeance. So their melee weapon goes to 4 damage, and their shooting goes to 2 damage. Really awesome. They have the passive ability where if they fight, they have another unit called Toll's Companions where they would fight right after, and they just proc that. They also have the passive in which if this unit has 2 models and it would be automatically destroyed, you only remove 1. So if you have a war scroll like Neferetta from the Soulblight Gravelords where she can just auto-slay a hero, it'd only kill 1 of them instead of 2, making it pretty awesome. Then we have Toll's Companions, their companion unit, and they go with them. So what they do is they have a 5 move, 4 up save, control 1, health 3. They have 4 attacks of pop, 3 to hit, 4 to wound, rend 1, damage 1, anti-wizard plus 1 rend. And there are 4 models in this unit. So they have, in the deployment phase, they can go with Callous and Toll, and you can set them up in reserves, and then later you can set them up anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches away from the enemy units, and also within a certain distance of Callous and Toll. So they can deep strike, take objectives, take their lands, just set up in the back lines, kill the little wizards in the back. Ooh, it's good. They are so amazing. They also have the passive in which if they're close to Callous and Toll, this unit and Callous and Toll both have a 5 ward, just making them that much more tanky and more survivable. Awesome unit. Every list that I run probably has Callous and Toll and Toll's Companions. It is just an amazing war scroll, and I have them 9 out of 10 times, if not 10 out of 10 times. I think I always take these guys. And if you're looking into this army, I think this is a kit to get. I love the look of them. I love the Witch Hunter aesthetic, and they're just so good. Unstoppable. And that is it for the war scrolls for the Cities of Sigmar faction pack. It's a doozy. There's a lot of them. I hope that wasn't too much for everyone, because it was a lot. More of the story is, and I think kind of my summary of it is, this is a Swiss Army knife army, but it also kind of suffers from bloat. There's a lot of war scrolls in here, and a lot of which that I just never see or never take or never run or want to run them. That being said, there is kind of a clear funnel on which is good and what you're going to take. There's certain units like Executioners, Hammers, Drakespawn Knights, Cavaliers, some of those things that you're just going to always run or always want to run, and some things like, the Dread Spears or the Iron Breakers, you're not going to run those just because there are other things better that you want to spend your points on. But that being said, everything in Age of Sigmar I think this army can go against, and it might not be in the best place right now. I know their win rates kind of suffer, and I think it's a hard army to pilot. I think it's a really hard army to play, and I think it's kind of tricky because they have a lot of rules and a lot of different things going on, a lot of complex rules, but I think if played right, they could be very good. And not only very good, but also very fun to play. This is one of my favorite armies to play because it feels thematic to what it is. You feel like the general commanding a bunch of little kind of normal dudes in a grandiose world. You feel like, there's all these little village bakers that are fighting against demons, and it's just a cool feeling, and I love the aesthetic of playing them. So that is the Cities of Sigmar book. Please like, comment, and share this. If you have any questions or list questions or what you want to see next, slap that in the comments and we'll get to it. And I hope you all enjoyed, and take care.